Ricky needs some surgery. He's in trouble. He can't even stand up on his own. But don't worry, Ricky. You're in capable hands, my friend. Everything's gonna be okay. We'll get you fixed right up. Also in this episode, we took the battery, which was in between the fuel cell and the wall of the cavity the fuel cell sits in. Took that battery, picked it up, and put it outside of that well. And I will show you guys how I did that also. So, hello everybody. It is starting to get cold and rainy, sometimes snowy out here. I figured that it was time to maybe take the car for possibly its last drive until next season. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to the car still. The rear end axle seals are leaking. There's still some gauges that I want to get working in it. The control arms need to be done so they're not wearing the tires like crazy. The motor goes through oil like half a quart every 50 miles, I think is what it is so far, because I've driven it 50 miles. It was full of oil when I started, so it's going through oil like a lot of oil. There is that crazy rattling noise when I drive the car that I don't know if it's coming from the rear end or the transmission. But that rear end's got to come apart sometime, like pretty soon. So I figured that I can't just, work on the car, and just never enjoy it. So I'm going to take it for a drive. It might be the last drive it's going to do until next spring, summer, sometime. Yeah, let's take a little road trip. All right, so we got a couple errands to run. Alright, so I made a stop at AutoZone for a filter and some oil for the Hummer, because I'm going to do a oil change on it today. Car's running okay, still got that loud rattling. And the temperature's hovering around 150, 180, which is doing pretty good. Idling around town, it starts to get hot, but I mean the fan works great cooling it down. First time on the freeway. Man, this car makes quite the racket. Yeah, man. Woo! Oh man, the brakes are awful. The brakes are so bad. So it made it. Made it, no major problems. Was shifting really late in third, really late. One cool thing though is I'm pretty certain I'm the first guy to ever go and pick up a turkey for Thanksgiving in a Winston Cup car. So there's that. So it is pretty chilly in my garage today. The temperature's starting to come down significantly. I think it's in the 30s outside. Which is not that big a deal, but in my garage it does tend to get kind of cold. I put together a kind of a DIY battery mount kit for the battery that's in the back of the Tide car. This battery is an enormous, it's like a 31 or something like that. It's like a really big battery, like 950 cold cranking amps or something like that. It's a big boy. I'm gonna leave it like that because I like knowing that I got all that extra juice on tap if something goes wrong. But we do need to move it because it's down in there with the fuel, and I think it just doesn't belong there. It's rattling around a lot, bouncing around. I put that piece of wood down in there to keep it from moving back and forth, but it's pinned up against that edge there, and it doesn't look right there. I don't think it should be right there. So I'm gonna move the battery over to this side, probably right here, and then bring the wires up, reconnect it, and put the battery box right there so it'll be strapped in right there on the side. And hopefully then it'll be locked down. I won't have to worry about it, rubbing against the metal down there or anything, or being up against that wood piece. The idea with this battery kit is to have this piece of aluminum. It's gonna cut a piece like that. It'll go over the top of the battery. And then these are gonna get bent down at the bottom so they can go underneath in these little notches that are for them right there. And then that's gonna come up with some wing nuts and washers and sit on top of this. And that will physically bolt the battery into the tray. And then it's gonna go through the sheet metal with these big washers down in there. It's gonna be screwed in every single place into the sheet metal so that it should be nice and solid. I can't imagine it going anywhere. And I even got lock washers for the nuts that are gonna go underneath the sheet metal. But everything should be pretty easy to get to because it's just right here on the corner of the car. So I don't think I have a problem drilling through that or getting to it. So that's the plan for the battery, to mount that up. So I'm gonna get started with that. Okay, so this battery had this meter on it, but I'm not gonna need that anymore. Besides, it's in pretty rough shape to begin with. Looks like it was kind of a cheap meter to start. But man, this thing's pretty much toast. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off. There we go. Gonna need 3/4 off of this in order to bend it down at the bottom, and then also the room for that and the washers and all that. So it looks like I'm gonna have plenty of space. You only need 3/4 of an inch, so it looks like it's gonna be perfect. So I'm gonna bend this 3/4 of it at a right angle, and hopefully it doesn't break on me or try to. There we go. Okay, that looks like about a right angle, doesn't it? 90 degrees. Okay, it'll do. For a little piece of my history, this vise here used to be my grandfather's, and when he passed away, I got it, and I've been using it ever since. And I remember being a little kid, and some of the first things he taught me about how to work on stuff was using that vise. I remember there was a lawnmower that the linkage broke, and he used a piece of pipe strapping to fix the linkage. And that was the first time I realized that, hey, if you're gonna fix something, you don't necessarily need the factory direct exact part in order to replace it. You can make the part yourself. And that was the first time that I was really introduced to like out of the box thinking. I think I was like 8 or 10 at the time. But it's really great to have this vise because it reminds me every time I use it reminds me of him every time I use it. And I'm about to use it right now. Cut this piece of aluminum and make a part out of something that was not intended for that purpose. So I think I'm just gonna start out with a couple corners, and then once I get the corners done and lined up, then we'll drill out the rest. But let's start back here, the hardest one first. Instead of come over to this one. Oh, I might have screwed up already because I can't get a good angle on that. Oh man. Yeah, it looks like I kind of messed up a little bit. But just because I'm too close to the frame rail here, so I'm gonna be drilling pretty much like right next to the frame rail. Oh man. No. These bolts have to be put in there before I start drilling more holes, just to make sure everything lines up. There. And it's a perfect fit for the screws. They actually thread down in there through the sheet metal. This, it strips the hole really quickly, but at least it goes down in there. It'll be nice and solid so I can drill the next hole. Then once the second hole's drilled, I can go through, drill everything else, and I won't have to worry about it not being lined up, because the first two are the only two that need to be lined up, and then everything else, once those two are fastened, will stay in the same spot. Alright, well, I'll keep going and check back in when I'm done. Alright, everything's bolted up, so now the battery can go in. So now I can just put the brace in. And this battery is mounted. There. That is good and solid. That ain't going anywhere. Awesome. Alright, so that battery's back in there, hooked up. We got the ground lead coming from here, the original one that was there. It's got to go underneath this, because I think when the trunk closes, this ends up sort of swinging down. I don't want it to interfere with the cable while it's driving. The ground is not that big a deal, but still, you don't want it damaging the cable. And then I got the positive lead running over there. There's a little bit of problem here because this is actually pretty tight, and it's gonna sit and constantly be rubbing on this forever. So I'm gonna have to get a piece of hose and a hose clamp or something and just clamp it around there just to make sure that it doesn't, you know, after a long time of driving it, it will eventually rub through that, and I don't want that to happen. So once I do that, the thing will be set. I mean, this thing is in there. Like, it's good and solid. I'm not worried about this thing going anywhere. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. And it didn't cost that much either. I think the tray was like $10, and then all the miscellaneous hardware was like less than $10. So, you know, battery box is like $50 or something crazy like that, 100 something if you want like crazy billet stuff. I don't need any of that. I just want the whole thing to hold the battery in. So, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. This is the center of a roll of receipt paper that I asked for one day at the ice cream store up in town, and I think it'd be perfect for keeping this cable from running through. So I cut it right there with a hacksaw. I'm gonna wrap it around there, tape it on, and should serve its purpose. While I was hooking up the battery, I noticed that this is a little bit flimsy, and a lot of those strands in there, it looks like, are broken off. So I'm gonna go ahead and strip this back and put some brand new cable down in there too while I'm at it. So gluing Ricky up's gonna be pretty easy. We're gonna use this stuff like so. I found this one time at, I think it was Home Depot, Lowe's, something like that, some home improvement store. And this stuff, I mean, it's like a giant tube of modeling glue, and stuff holds really well, and it's like waterproof, clear. I mean, I used it to seal a sink and it was great. So because it's just like glue, we're gonna use it to glue the back of Ricky to the styrofoam that he's on, and hopefully it'll keep him rigid enough to stand up on his own with this little bracket here. I don't know that it's gonna be enough, but at least if he's glued up like that, he could probably lean up against the car okay, or somewhere else in the garage. But it should be that simple. I'll be careful. I should probably use some gloves with this stuff because it is really gnarly. Yeah, we'll have to sit something to weigh it down, but I think a couple more. Oh no, don't stick to me. Looks like the surgery went well. Just needs a little bit of recovery time. Some boxes of shotgun shells and some steel to weigh everything down. And hopefully by tomorrow, Ricky will be tip-top again. And then I can, you know, ask him for advice, you know. Just kind of like hang out and, you know, be a part of this whole journey. But yeah, I think everything went well. I think he's gonna do okay. There's a lot of glue under there. Looks like he's feeling just like his old self again. How does it feel to be standing on your own 2 feet again, Ricky? Feel good? That's actually really cool. I'm stoked that this thing came with the car. That's so neat. And I can just have him sort of just hanging out, standing around the shop. Just me and Ricky working on the old car. How does it feel to be back in the action, huh, Rick? Feels good, don't it? Got some cleaning up to do in the garage. Some aftermath from what's going to be in the next video. This next one coming up is going to be the control arms. Those have been swapped out on the car. There was a lot of filming that I did for that, and a lot of cutting up and editing that I'm going to have to do for it. That's going to come probably, but since I'll have it all filmed already, I should be able to just cut it up and put it out there like probably within the next week. Can't make any promises. I do my best to try and get this stuff out, but I've really got a busy life, busy schedule. As far as constructive criticism, please, I'm all ears. Let me know what you like, what you don't like, and I will do my best to improve the channel, because that's what this is all about. Starting off small and just trying to make it better and better for you guys. Anything you guys want to see or any suggestions for the car, just put them in the comments below. I'm not going to be offended. I'm going to read every single one, because there's only like, a lot of the videos only have like 100 views right now. But anyhow, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're enjoying the videos, please give me a like and subscribe. We're trying to get to that 1,000 mark. Content's gonna keep coming. Might be a little bit slow, but I'm doing my best to get it out. That being said, you guys all take care, and I will see you next time.